Hello. Happy Wednesday. Happy to be here as usual for our weekly live training. Happy Wednesday. Well, wait, one moment. Going out live. How are you all doing? How's everyone doing today? Let me just quickly copy the link in our Facebook group so everyone can join us. I'm going live on Instagram as well. And we're live. We're live in both places. How is everyone doing today? How are you all feeling? How are you all feeling? I'm live today to speak about the 6 steps to confidently teach yoga in English. And this chat or this training today is really because obviously, we work with a lot of people that speak English as a foreign language. They're yoga teachers and they want to teach yoga in English to have more freedom, because when you teach in English, you can travel and teach abroad. You have more freedom because you can start teaching online and reach more people. You have more freedom because you can reach more people in person and abroad. So in person and online, there's a lot of different things, a lot of different possibilities and opportunities that happen for you when you teach in English. And I'm sure that you're all aware of that. And that's why you're watching this training with me today. So I see that Feel Yoga Trip. How are you doing? Lovely. What's your name? Eddie is here. So nice to see you. On Facebook, let me know who's watching as well so I can greet you personally. And I will dive in straight away today because I've got a lot to share with you. So learning how to teach yoga is a skill in itself, right? So when we go to yoga teacher training, you learn how to cue, how to sequence, you learn about the philosophy, the history, things that you would like to share with your students. Hi, David. So nice to meet you. We've got Melly here as well. So nice to see all of you here. So that's a skill in itself, learning to teach yoga. Then learning another language is another challenge or another skill. Yeah, so we've got the skill to teach yoga, the skill to speak another language. And learning a language doesn't require only practice of speaking, writing, reading and listening, but also vocabulary. And if you've been with me for a while, you know all about this. I speak about all the learning skills when it comes to English very often. So look back through our training sessions if you want to know more about this. But it's just to distinguish those 2 types of skills, learning to teach yoga and learning another language. But combining these requires twice the effort, because now, apart from only learning to teach and only learning a language, you're now combining these things. Now, the problem with learning English for teaching yoga is that in our general English yoga classes, you often learn how to order a coffee, how to get around the airport or buy a train ticket. Maybe you learn more grammatical features and functions because you're preparing for an exam. But all of the focuses that we focus on in English language classes are things that we usually do not use in a yoga class. Because in yoga, we focus on all of the vocabulary, all of the terms and expressions that have to do with the body, with adjectives that describe how we feel and how we are as persons, physical sensations, with metaphors and instructional language, because we want to cue our students not only safely and effectively, but also inclusively and accessibly. These are not things that you learn in an English class, and especially not if you're learning to prepare yourself for an exam, an IELTS exam or a Cambridge exam or a TOEFL exam, whatever it is. These are not things that you learn generally. So there's a big skill or a big challenge for you to then teach yoga in English. In yoga, we speak about many different topics. And like I said, these topics are very different from the things that we speak about in our daily life. And like I said, general English classes focus on general language skills. So it's not uncommon to feel really unconfident or incapable when you're in a yoga class, because you can be very fluent in English, but to actually teach in English as a foreign language requires some extra study hours, but also loads of practice. So I'm going to speak about the 6 steps that will help you feel prepared and to also help you feel confident when you teach yoga in English. Yeah. So language and communication when it comes to English includes, when it comes to teaching yoga in English, includes learning vocabulary, cueing formulas, but also synonyms and alternatives to make your classes inclusive and accessible. Now, language and communication often is also missed out of your teacher training. So to find resources and materials that can actually help you improve your language and communication for yoga is a challenge. It's not something that's offered very, very often. It's not something that's offered very often. That's one of the reasons, one of the biggest reasons really, that I've created Enga Unite, because I help non-native English-speaking yoga teachers with continuing education that's focused on language and communication for yoga classes and business purposes, with courses and workshops and training, so that you can really focus on the language that you truly need and become a very effective and confident English-speaking yoga teacher. Yeah, so it's important to remember all of these differences and what it really takes to confidently teach yoga in English. So now that you understand that learning to teach yoga is one thing, but learning to teach yoga in another language really takes time, it takes commitment, loads of practice, failing, making mistakes, but learning also from these failures and mistakes. It's an ongoing personal and professional development journey. And you can do all of that on your own. I have done that, but I promise you that when you do these things on your own, your journey will be very frustrating, very long. It feels like often you're very alone in the process. So receiving support from a community, from other yoga teachers that go through the same journey, from teachers that have gone through that process already and know what works, what doesn't work, and what can really help you to speed up your process, will help you to receive not only resources and feedback, but also really speed up your learning process and take you to your full potential. So it's for no other reasons that when you teach at the studio, for example, you often receive feedback and support from other people that watch your classes and they observe your classes. They are not there to judge you. They're not there to form an opinion about the way that you teach, but really to give feedback so that you can improve the things and become better at what you're doing and reach your full potential. So what I'm trying to say with this is that seeking support never is a sign of weakness. It doesn't mean that you don't know enough, but it really means that you allow yourself to receive the support that you need to bring you further to achieving what you really want to do in your yoga teaching career. And do that faster as well, to save yourself from a lot of overwhelm, from feeling incapable, feeling alone, feeling like you can't actually do this because you can't find the right resources, and will help you to speed up your progress, achieve your goals faster, and actually have this international career that you dream of. Yeah, so this is one thing as well to think about. But I'm going to speak about the 6 steps. Let me see. Are you in Brazil? I am not in Brazil, but it's very nice that if you are in Brazil, we're connected this way. Very nice. Mari, where are you based? And Mitra says, I got my certificate in China in Chinese. I'm Iranian Turkish and will learn how to teach in English. Amazing, amazing, amazing. This is really interesting. Mitra, does that mean that you also speak Turkish? Is it Turkish? Yeah, do you speak Turkish and Chinese already? Is English a third language? Write in the comments, everyone. Write in the You're in Brazil, but I'm Australian. Beautiful, very nice. Very, very nice. Such an international community, aren't we? All right. So the 6 steps. The 6 steps to become a confident English speaking yoga teacher. And it all starts with the journey. It all starts with the journey and your preparational steps. Now, your preparational steps are really, let me think, 5 things to help you understand where you're at right now and where you want to be. So the 5 steps is a sub-step. It's a step within one of the 6 steps. So the sub-steps are becoming clear of your level of English and understand what you already know and what you could improve. Now, becoming clear of your level of English, hi Edgar, nice to see you. Becoming clear of your level of English is something that you can do by taking a level test. But not just any level test that helps you prepare for your exams. Because yes, it's great to have a B1 or C1 or whatever level of English. Those tests help you prepare for general English classes or general English exam preparation. What you need is a level test that helps you understand what your level of English is for yoga. And it's a level test that I've created for you. If you haven't taken this test yet, go to the link in my bio, or if you're watching on Facebook, go to our website. I think that's the easiest way to go. Go to our website and search for the English grammar and yoga vocabulary test to find out what your level of English is for teaching yoga, right? Because a general English test focuses a lot on grammar and on grammatical structures, on language points that we use for exam preparation. But for yoga, your focus is much more on vocabulary, on the vocabulary that we can use in different contexts, and the vocabulary that we use to form our cues or phrases to help our students in their practice find personal expressions, but also explore their asanas in a different way. There's a lot more focus on vocabulary rather than grammar. So do the test, understand what you're good at, understand what you already know, and then find out what you need to improve and how you can improve this. So you can find the level test in the link in my bio, or you can find it on the website, engaunite.com. So that's step 1 of your preparational steps. Step 2 is your learning style. Now, I speak about this often too, but our general school systems teach you very certain ways of learning. And often everyone at school learns the same way because our teachers have our own preferences, but our standardized school systems also don't always adapt their classes to different learning styles. Now, it's important to know your learning style because it will help you to find memorization techniques and learning techniques to speed up your learning based on your preferred way of learning. And this is important because it will, apart from that, it will speed up your learning process. It will actually make you feel more confident and capable because you can see that you can memorize it. You can see that you can actually absorb information without being stuck in the standardized school systems. Yeah, so find what works for you in terms of absorbing, memorizing, and taking in new information. If you want to, we have a test for this too. And you can find it on the blog, and you can find and search for your learning style is unique. So you go to the Enga Unite website /blog. Your learning style is unique, and you can find out what your learning style is. Then another preparational step is define your goals and the needs of your students. And defining your goals is a broad, very big thing to do. But without goals, you don't have actually anything to learn for, right? So you need to know what you're passionate about, what you most like to teach, where you want to teach, who you want to teach, and what the needs of your students are. So it doesn't make sense for you to learn everything about language for yoga if your goal is to teach yoga for pregnancy. Your goal should then be learning everything about the anatomy of women that go through pregnancy, learning everything about the mental fluctuations for women that go through pregnancy, their emotional states. Yeah, so your language learning becomes super focused once you have your goals and once you know the needs of your students. And that again will make you feel less overwhelmed, more focused, more precise, instead of learning everything about everything and not actually making your learning relatable. This is also often something happens in general school systems, because they learn you or they teach you about everything, you won't use it, you won't memorize it, and suddenly feel like I can't actually speak the language. So understand your goals, define your goals and the needs of your students so that you can personalize your learning, make your learning focused on specific types of vocabulary or specific types of terms, phrases, expressions. Then we've got so far preparational steps, your level of English, your learning style, and the goals, your goals of your teaching career. The next preparational step is your learning style and your personality. And I spoke about this a little bit already. This really is an important thing because it will help you to personalize and focus on the things that you actually need. And I spoke about this already. So if you want to learn more about this, I want to save some time because I want to go through all the other steps. Go to the blog again, find out what your learning style is and take it from there. All right. Now, the last point of your preparational steps are focus on the development of your vocabulary and communication that's related to your goals and your students' needs. Because there is so much to learn and you can learn everything about the body, everything about the mind, mindfulness, the asanas, alignment, history, philosophy. I can go on. But you don't need everything. You definitely don't need everything in one class. And you might not even need it throughout your career. So prioritize the things that you need to make you feel less overwhelmed with information. It would also help you to learn more actively and not just take all this information in passively, while you spread your focus on different aspects and then forget everything because you're not going to use it. Yeah, so prioritize the language points that you really need. All right. Those are your preparational steps. So summarizing that for you, become clear on your level of English, become clear on your learning style, define your goals and the needs of your students, and then understand your teaching style, your personality, to focus your development of your vocabulary and communication on the things that you actually need. Preparational step number 1. Then the second step of the 6 steps to confidently teach yoga in English is learning instructional vocabulary. And this might be very obvious, but it's not so easy as it may sound. Yeah, so the very first thing that you need to do as a yoga teacher most of the time is guide your students in and out of a posture or in and out of a type of movement. For that, we need to know asana names, body parts, prepositions, verbs, and language for movement. And all of these words have synonyms as well. So learning all of this type of vocabulary, you can do by practicing with teachers. You can do it by writing out scripts. You can do it by taking anatomy classes, for example. But again, if you do that, it's not super focused. For that reason, it's so important that you know your learning style and that you can focus your learning on asanas that you're actually going to use, on body parts that you're actually going to speak about in your classes, on a language of movement that you're actually going to perform in your classes. Because if you're, for example, a yin yoga teacher, you don't need to know as much as a vinyasa yoga teacher. So focus on the types of vocabulary that you're actually going to use, that you can then use to instruct your students. So instructional vocabulary, and with that, I mean asana names, body parts, prepositions, language for movement, and verbs. Now, we have a yoga vocabulary builder, and the yoga vocabulary builder is an interactive dictionary that helps you with specific vocabulary that you can actually need, that you can actually use, and that you will need for your yoga classes. And we offer it with quizzes and tests and memory games and different types of learning methods too, so that you can actually learn, absorb, and memorize when you're doing your yoga classes. So the Yoga Vocabulary Builder, everyone, you can find it on our website too, if you're interested in this. Then step number 3. Number 2, instructional vocabulary. Step number 3, cueing formulas and sentence structure. All right, so cueing formulas and sentence structure. Once you know all the words, it's time to form sentences. And sentences in yoga usually are active and instructional. There are different types of cueing formulas. Right? So if you have been with us for a while and you know about this, you don't know about this, go through the lives on Instagram, our videos on Facebook, or check out the Your Yoga in English podcast, because I've spoken about cueing quite a lot recently. But examples of cueing or cueing formulas in sentence structure are mindfulness cues, energetic cues, alignment cues, philosophical cues, anatomical cues, support cues. All of these types of cues have different sentence structures. They have different types of vocabulary and different ways to actually build a sentence that makes sense for you and for your students. So if you want to have, for example, an instructional cue, it means that you can get your students in and out of a posture. If you use support cues, they are cues to help your students hold a posture and explore it to find sthira and sukha. Now, all types of cues, like I said, have a different grammatical structure and a different grammatical order. And even though, like I said earlier, I am not very harsh on grammar in yoga classes, you do want your sentences and your phrases to make sense. Because if you're not clear, if your sentences don't make sense to your students, they will have to look up to what you're doing. And if you're not demonstrating, they might not understand what you're doing. That means that they are distracted, or they are disturbed by what they see, or they don't understand it. They are getting into their heads rather than into their bodies. And it doesn't really allow your students to flow smoothly in their yoga class. So even though grammar is not my priority when it comes to yoga, you do want to form easy to understand sentences that make sense straight away, that are clear and effective, so that you can guide your students through an experience in their body. Yeah, so they're not in their head like, what did this person just say? What did my teacher just say? But they can really understand you straight away, do it, and feel it in their own body. So step number 2, cueing formulas and sentence structure. Number 3 are finding synonyms and alternatives, because what works for you doesn't always work for your students. Even though the most beautiful cues, the most beautiful phrases, the most metaphorical and flowery and well thought through philosophical cues do not always make sense for all of your students. And I'm going to give you an example. When I did my yoga teacher training, my very first yoga teacher training, my teacher wanted us to do a headstand. And she was telling me something about place your ankle in my, place your top of the foot in my hand and press it away so that you will find some more strength from out the core, right? If this is a whole other thing, if you want to practice headstand one day. And she kept repeating that cue. And she kept repeating the cue, but I didn't change anything in my body, because I thought that what she was doing or asking me to do is what I was doing. At some point, she started saying, she doesn't get it. She doesn't get it. She doesn't get it. And the only thing I could think is, I don't get it because you're not changing your words. You're only shouting to me louder, but I don't understand what you're actually saying. That means that if you have a yoga student in your class and you are not able to use different words, different phrases, synonyms, alternatives, different types of cue, your students will not change the position or their posture. Right? If they don't understand this first time, you have to have synonyms and alternatives that say the same thing or that provoke the same action, but then make it easy to understand for your students when they don't understand it the first time. Remember that everyone has a different experience. What makes sense for you doesn't always make sense for your students. And you really want to prevent your students from making them feel dumb or stupid or not smart enough because they don't understand what you say. Yeah, if they don't understand you, it's your responsibility to have synonyms and alternatives to make yourself clear and understood. All right, in different ways. So step number 4, find synonyms and alternatives that are easily understood by your students. So we're not stuck using the same cues over and over and over and over again. Step number 5. Step number 5 is learning inclusive and accessible vocabulary. And I speak about this a lot because I think that in an international setting, this is super important. So inclusive and accessible language speaks the language that doesn't exclude anyone and that doesn't provoke or remind your students of traumatic situations. Examples of non-inclusive words, vocabulary, are spread your legs, using the word strong, using the word skinny, using the term or the verb if you need to. All of these things are not inclusive. If you want to know more about this, join the English for Yoga Teachers course, because I've got a whole module on inclusive language. But it's important that you create a welcoming atmosphere, and that in that atmosphere, your students feel free to explore their own bodies and minds in their practice, that you allow them to be who they are and to enjoy their own experience, that you don't force your own ideas on your students because you believe it needs to happen one way or another. Yes, so comfort your students with inclusive and accessible language to find their own explorations and that there is no need to fit into a perfect shape or do something differently because that's what you say or that's what you have learned, and now they need to do the exact same thing. It also, when you use inclusive and accessible language, it also means that you can offer props and equipment like blocks or the wall or a chair or a strap or a bolster. It means that you can offer a lot of different ways to make the practice more enjoyable and more personal for your students. When it comes to language, especially in terms of inclusivity, you want to pay special attention to adjectives, physical sensations, and verbs, and look at the way that they are used in different contexts. Here, you want to think outside the box and think about these words that are used in also our daily speech or in traumatic situations to find out in what way it could remind your students of any trauma. It's important that you pay attention to this. Number 5, in the yoga vocabulary builder that I spoke about earlier, you find a whole section on this, a whole section on inclusive language and outdated language as well. So if you're interested, have a look. Now, final step. The final step of the 6 steps to confidently teach yoga in English is learning metaphorical, and sometimes I like to call it flowery language. This allows you to offer more than just asana, to offer more than just physical sensations, that offer more than just the anatomy side or the instructional side of yoga. Because metaphorical and flowery language speaks to sensory exploration, including history and philosophy, including maybe therapeutic language, and especially for those that have a teaching style that's less focused on alignment and instructions, it really allows you to offer your students a well-rounded yoga sequence that takes your students on a journey inwards. And that will help you to be mindful, to provoke or to ignite imagination, to look beyond just the physical in their yoga class and take their what they learn on the mat off the mat as well. So for those that have done the quiz with us before, and if you're a sensory explorer or if you're a spiritual awakener, this will really help you to target different groups or students that want more than just an asana class, and instead also focus on their body-mind connection, the way that they experience different things in their classes, and like I said, take their practice off the mat. Yeah, so learning metaphorical and flowery language. So summing up, step 1 to 6, number 1 is focus on your preparational steps. And your preparational steps are becoming clear on your level of English, your learning style, your goals and the needs of your students, your personal learnings, your personal teaching style or your teaching personality, and focus your development of vocabulary and communication on the things that are related to your goals and your style of teaching. And all of that to feel less overwhelmed with all the things that you can possibly learn. Step number 2, learn instructional vocabulary. And with that, I mean asana names, body parts, verbs, prepositions, language of movement. Because these are the first 5 types of vocabulary that you need to cue your students. Which brings me to step 3, cueing formulas and sentence structure. And remember, there are so many different types of cueing styles like mindful, energetic, alignment, philosophical, anatomical, support cues, instructional cues. All of these cues I teach you in the English for Yoga Teachers course because they have different sentence structures. They have different grammatical structures too. But it's important that you know the difference and that you're also able to offer these, because what works for you doesn't always work for another student. That's one reason. The other reason is that you can offer more than just asana and really make it a well-rounded experience. That's number 3, cueing formulas and sentence structure. Then number 4 are synonyms and alternatives that are easily understood by your students. Same thing here. What works for you doesn't always make sense to your students. So if there's one cue that you love a lot, like for example, in Warrior 2, I really like to say, look past your front middle finger. Now, I had a student asking me the other day, why do you say front? Because I look past my middle finger. And it's because obviously we've got 2 middle fingers, one that's facing the back of the mat, one that's facing the front of the mat. So I mean, look past the one that's in front of you. If your student doesn't understand this in class, what else do you say? What else can you say? Because they might be looking at you. They might be looking at your students, other students in the class, and they might wonder, like, what do they actually mean? And completely lose their focus in the practice, the focus on their body and mind, the concentration. They're distracted to listening what you're saying, or distracted to making sense of what you're saying. They're not in their practice anymore. So find synonyms and alternatives. And step number 5, inclusive and accessible language. And I've spoke about this a lot. I will not go into much detail anymore, but it's important that we create a welcoming environment where our students are not judged, they're not excluded, they are not traumatized, and they're not reminded of any traumatic situations. And then metaphorical and flowery language to really offer more than just asana. And this really speaks to including metaphors, hypotheses, including lots of words and expressions for imagination, so that your students can take their practice on the mat, off the mat, into their daily lives too. All right, so 6 steps to confidently teach yoga in English, and also to make your cueing and the way that you're speaking more personal, more authentic. Because often what I see is that as yoga teachers, learning to teach in a foreign language, and in this case in English, we're copying our own teachers. We copy what we've heard, but it doesn't actually sound authentic or personal to us. And that means that your students can't resonate with you. And if there's one thing important in yoga, is that we want our students to be able to resonate with us. So many reasons why you need to work on these steps. Now, I want to remind you that only today, very last day, if you sign up to the English for Yoga Teachers course, you get free access to the Teach Yoga in English course bundle. So that means that you have access to 3 different courses. That's the English for Yoga Teachers course, the Find Your Voice in English course, and the Yoga Vocabulary Builder. So you get access to all 3 of them if you sign up today. After tomorrow, or actually from tomorrow, you will not get free access anymore. So it's a really, really great way to invest in your professional development, to make the last months of 2022 super focused on developing your language skills for teaching yoga and your business, so that in 2023, you can thrive in your teaching career, go abroad, start your online business if you want to, whatever it is that you want to achieve. Invest in your personal learning and speed up your learning process by being surrounded with teachers and other yogis that are going through the same process, because you can really learn from each other, hold each other accountable, and you can find all the personal resources and materials that you truly need to actually make this journey super effective and not feel overwhelmed, to not feel incapable, to not feel frustrated because you're not seeing any progress, but to have a step-by-step plan that will actually help you achieve the goals that you have. Yeah, so only today, last day, you get free access to the other 2 courses if you sign up for the English for Yoga Teachers course. We officially close enrollment on the 4th of September. So for the rest of the week, you can still sign up without access to the Teach Yoga and English course bundle. If you have questions or if you have any hesitations, and important, if you have any financial limitations, write to me, because we make exceptions for people that live outside of Europe to meet their circumstances and their situation. So send me a message if you want to join and I can help you out. I will answer any questions that you have and look at personalized payment plans if you need to, because I understand that if you live outside of Europe, it's not something that you can afford straight away. All right, let me know. Any questions, anyone? Do you have any questions, anyone? I'm gonna check in the Facebook group. Any questions about the training or about the English for Yoga Teachers course? I have to click. I'm sorry. Do you have any questions? The sounds? No. Let's see. Eddie and Tikara are here. Nice to see you. Questions, anyone? I don't see anything coming in. All right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be online here on Instagram and on Facebook for the rest of the afternoon. So that's in Europe time. If you have questions, send me a message. I'm here to reply to anything. Remember that the discount, well, the extra bonus, the free access to the bundle expires today. So send me a message if you have questions or if you have your financial limitations. I'm here to answer them. And I hope to see all of you tomorrow, because tomorrow we're going to be live with Mark Bretner to speak about how to scale your business to experience more freedom. So I would love to see you there. It's at 1:30 p.m. Central European time. So come and join us then. And on Friday, I'll be live with a Q&A to answer all your questions about the English for Yoga Teachers course and the course bundle. So if you have questions, you can send them to me too. That will be, I have to check the time, but I'll be live tomorrow, 1:30 p.m. And on Friday, come and join us. Any questions, send them to me. Check out the links in my bio and the links on our website. And I wish you a great rest of your day and sending you all lots of love. Goodbye, everyone.